in presenting the views of their constituent, where their constituencies basically represent the women and their issues. You are aware that even in the whole country there is a challenge of meeting the third gender rule, because with nomination it can't be that forever, and there must be a way of ensuring that there is that balance. But with the existing regulations and statutes, as at now, there is that balance, but it's not to the maximum. They still feel like the men are dominating.
Thank you, Honorable Elisha. I come to Senator Rose NYAMUNGA. In her profile, she's a businesswoman, mentor, women and cultural rights activist, and she has supported many women to start their income-generating activity. As a lawyer and a finance expert, and being there at the legislature, where you are serving your second term, at the wider legislature, because I know you are former Kisumu County Women Rep. What are these challenges? What were your dreams as a girl? Did you think at one time you will be a politician? And what are these challenges facing women in the legislature?
Thank you so much for the question. Actually, like I have to disclose that myself and the speaker, we are brothers and sisters. So I'm protected where I am. I feel very protected here. And just the same as what he said, that when I first of all saw the topic, I was a bit taken aback because I didn't understand. Because, you know, in life there are so many storms. You could have family storms, you can have political storms, financial storms, or economic storms. There are many. But now I understand and I see the way forward. Now, if I may answer that, maybe directly or indirectly, that how did I grow up, and did I ever at any one point imagine that I would be in leadership? And the answer could be yes and no. I was brought up by a very strong father, somebody who was so level-headed and focused. So as a young girl, I was very focused. At the age of class 4, I knew I would be a lawyer. And the reason why I wanted to be a lawyer was I wanted justice. And anytime I saw injustice, even when I saw a young child cry, I would pick that child, and by evening I would have so many children in my mother's house, and mothers knew that if your child is missing by evening, go and get it from my place. So my problem has always been justice. Things must be done right. And I've never loved to see suffering. First of all, I never suffered as a young girl, as a child growing. So I never wanted to see anybody suffer. So I could say yes or no because of that. But when it came to leadership and being in a political position, I would still say that it never occurred to me. I never planned for it, but it was by nature. That as I grew up, mine was to make sure that I supported schoolgirls. My father was in the business of microfinance. So I would always have extra money. And at the end of school, I would make sure that none of the girls who did not have school fees had their bus fare. And you would bring it back the following term. If I gave you 5 bob, you would bring it back with 5 plus 50 cents. So that culture of business also was there. But as for politics, I must say that I was being mentored without knowing that I was being mentored. And I must say and confess that one of the people who mentored me deliberately, against my wish, was Mama Ida. Anywhere we went, she would invite me. And sometimes I would hide and even give an excuse. Because I said, who am I? I looked at myself as a very young person to be near somebody like Mama Ida. So that was a big thing. But she made sure that anywhere she went, she invited me. And if anybody wanted to introduce me, she would say, no, that is not your guest, please don't introduce them. I will introduce her myself. And she would insist that I would stand and introduce myself. So me, I pride in my education, so I would say, I would not even want to talk about it, but she would tell me, no, Rose, you have not introduced yourself properly. Can you introduce? If you don't want, I'll do it. So she did it. And that gave me a lot of courage. But as for going into politics directly, it was a people-driven. It was a demand for our family. That's one thing we never imagined, but with time, there was a big demand for my husband to go into politics, and thereafter, there was a demand coming from the people, maybe because of the idea of capacity of building people and supporting people and making sure that women and people around us were totally and economically empowered. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The lady on the immediate right, the honorable lady, she's a lady who has gone a full circle. She has been a beauty queen. She has been an industry champion. She has gone full circle on the industry. So there's nothing she doesn't know about the industry. She's worked with Jabali, Microsoft, Britam, Geothermal Development Corporation. She's an international person in terms of where she's gone. So she's a woman with a lot of colors on her wings. Karo, did you ever think you would be a deputy governor of NYERI? And what are your journeys towards that dream now that you're in politics?
Wow, thank you very much. Frankly, no, to answer you directly. It is not something I worked hard and say that every day I wake up and get into politics. My journey, as you say, has been long and quite eventful, even for myself. Sometimes when I look back, I really wonder, that's quite a bit. But all in all, I think, number one, it's important, even as we raise our girls, to expose them as much as possible to the opportunities that life has to offer, and not to try and drive them in one direction. I come from a family of 2 girls and 3 boys, a hugely matriarchal family. My mother was an assistant mayor of NYERI County. My grandmother, many years ago. My father was actually a businessman, like a lot of people from around the mountain. And that took me into what I am today, academically, because then I wanted to understand the business space, the investment space a little better. And therefore, went to school. My very first job was at the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Today it's called the Nairobi Securities Exchange. My journey around school was hugely influenced by my father's journey as well as a businessman. But that did not stop me from venturing into many other things. Like you have had at some point when I was younger, I ventured into the catwalks, and I was actually Miss Tourism Nairobi and second runners-up, Miss Tourism Kenya. So I like to tour. Actually, I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that. But also, these are opportunities, especially for the girls, to expose themselves, to build confidence, and to grow and get nurtured into various environments. And that is where one thing I think as an African society, we are going wrong. Because from a very early stage, we are taught and socialized in a certain way of how to be a woman. And that is where, in my view, we have gone wrong. I recently watched a lady I have profound respect for called Mother Karua, and she was wearing a t-shirt that said, "I was not taught." And I sought to understand, what does she mean that she was not taught? And she said to me, listen, we were all born as babies. We cried the same, we got the same good old slap when you're born. But after you're born, there is a certain compartmentalization stage that we go into where you're told how, as a woman, as a girl child, to behave, and how, as a boy child, to behave, and what opportunities are open for the girl and are not open for the boy, and vice versa. And there is where we start, according to a lot of people, going wrong. So what Mother Karua said is, I was not taught. I just found myself into this space. So in the same way that you are not taught to deal with people in a different, deal with girls in a different way. Let's not compartmentalize our girls. Let's expose them as much as possible, because really the sky is the limit. And I really want to thank the women who have gone before us. We like to call ourselves the younger women in leadership. And we have a lot of respect for the women who have gone before us. Phoebe Asio, you know, the likes of Zipporah Kitonyi, Grace Ogot, Professor Wangari Maathai, fantastic women of strength who have paved way even for us to be in a panel today. This is not something that I take lightly, that I have come all the way from NYERI to even afford a chance to sit as a woman and address people. So they have borne the brand of hatred to fight for this cause. But what we are saying, perhaps as the newer women in leadership, is they have done their part. They fought through. Theirs was more of activism, going out and fighting it out with the men. Sometimes it even got physical, and we thank them for that. But the next frontier of agitation for gender equity must move from that activism sort of model to a more strategic conversation sort of concept, so that we are not fighting our men. We are telling our men, we love you. In fact, you are part of us. You're 50% of this country. We make the other 50% of this country. It's not a favor we are asking. We are only asking, come, let us reason together. Let us drive our counties and the country together. Because indeed, we are also fairly equal partners in the matrix. So that is the new generation of thinking. And that is why, under the Common Women Agenda, you saw that we recently made a proposal to the BBI team. And in our proposal, we started not by representation. Deliberately, we made representation our point 2. Our point 1 was about our human rights and rights, economic and social rights that are very close to women. And I want to speak about the rights that are, very central to us as women. For instance, rights to access of clean water. It sounds, especially to the male folk, it sounds very obvious. But for women, water is everything. For us to run our households and our homesteads, for us to feed you in those homes, we need access to clean water. We need access to affordable health care for us, for our husbands, and for our children. Because indeed, when there is illness in a homestead, the woman bears the brunt. And therefore, the next generation of women is into these strategic conversations. We are saying, if we have the BBI, we want to hear the BBI addressing rights, social and economic rights that touch on the lives of women. Then representation comes in a close second, because we argue we should be fairly represented, because indeed, even if you look at the recently concluded census, we are actually 50% of this country. And therefore, to answer your question, journey has been long, but I really expect that there's a whole lot ahead of us. Politics is not easy, especially for those of us that came from corporate Kenya. So you get a little bit of a culture shock, where you have a face that you grow gray hairs, like I have since I became deputy governor. I have a few gray hairs, and I thank God. I hope that they represent wisdom and not stress. But I have gained both of them, both stress and wisdom. So the political space is tough for women, but it is a space that we must be able to get into, because if we don't, who will? And that's what I keep arguing. There are many times I thought of resigning as deputy governor of NYERI County, and actually drafted my resignation, and I said, today, if I go, the first thing I see my boss, I am issuing my letter of resignation. But that journey between typing that letter and handing in that letter becomes a very tough journey, even politically. What does that mean for women? Are you now quitting? Yes, because we know women are quitters. So if you quit, then you have disenfranchised all women. So it's not as easy as it looks and as glamorous as it looks on the outside. There is a lot of infighting, and strong women even become stronger by being involved in the public space. And I want to encourage, and I can see some of my former classmates in Daystar University, like Nora, who are probably still in corporate Kenya. Please come and help tilt the scale on this other side, because we need some of those brains from corporate Kenya also to come and become part of the cocktail that drives this country forward. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Karugu. On my far right, Caroline is an African feminist, a politician also, an MCA at the County Assembly, a human rights advocate. She's a poet, so she might recite a poem for us today. She's passionate about women empowerment. One thing about her, she's a teacher. I'm also a teacher. I was a teacher first before I became an economist. So I have a soft place for teachers. Teachers are all around. What is it about Africa and women feminists? What is it about women empowerment? And what are the challenges you're facing in women empowerment journey?
Oh, thank you very much. When I was told that I was going to speak about weathering the storms, literally took it like storms, like when it rains, or is it just storms? Because when you speak of storms, it is men who are fond of talking about weather. But then, as a woman, African feminist, and a community worker, a teacher, a poet, and a politician, I would say that as I sit here, I am every woman. I am that local woman in the community who sells her wares on the ground. I am that middle-class woman, and probably even that woman in the higher cadre. The journey of a woman is a very challenging one. I was born, I found myself as a firstborn. Amongst boys, I was taken to a school, a boarding school when I was very young. I was not visited. I had to struggle to fit. And so I grew up with very many different personalities that I can use at any opportune time. So the journey has not been easy. And before I come to my own journey, I want to remember the women in the community who have to weather the storms of life, the storms of families, the storms of living amongst people that you don't know, that you meet in your adulthood, and you have to fit in their religion, in their culture, in the kind of food, in the way of life, and everything. It's very tough, but women have managed to weather this because we have structures in the community of older women probably who hold your hand and direct your path. At this moment, we are COVIDing, and it's not been an easy one as well. Women's economy, if you top it up with what we have gone through in the representation in policy-making tables, where our issues are discussed, where our budgets are discussed, and we are not fully there, our voices are not heard, it's still very tough. Women have lost jobs, women have died during childbirth because they were not able to reach the hospitals, or women have died of hunger. Some have been violated, and we also have the teenagers who are trying to struggle and negotiate the path of adolescence that is very tough. So COVID has not even made it easy for women, but we have weathered the storms, and here we are. During conflict, I can hear the war cries. I can hear men already peddling conflict. Before, as a woman, before we get over the post-election violence and its effects, where we lost our children, where we shed blood, where we were living in camps without probably our ARVs, without our health care kits, without our sanitation and even security, then COVID settles in. Before we recover as women, then we already hear the political mood. What comes to my mind as a woman out there is, again, I'm going to run, I'm going to miss my home, I'm going to lose my children, and during these battles, who do I save? My disabled child who's not able to move, my old mother-in-law or my mother, my husband probably, or myself. Who do I run with? So during conflict, we go through a lot of storms because we bear the brunt. When the family is lacking in water, then we have to wake up very early in the morning to ensure that we get water, to feed the family, to go into the farm, to smile at the public, to endure the jeers from men, and also to struggle in spaces, including the church spaces. And now, in politics. When I was growing up, I didn't know what politics is all about. I remember seeing President Moi. We were singing by the roadside, and he would issue goodies. That is as far as it went. But as I grew up under the hands of very powerful women in my journey of becoming a young girl towards adulthood now. And then I started fitting in male spaces where decisions are made at home, and you realize that as a woman you have no say in where your father is buried or your father will be buried, or you have no say on who is going to marry you and how much dowry you want, whether you want it or not. Nobody bothers to consult or find out this about you. So slowly I was mentored, and I would say that a lot of women, feminism is an English word, but the women, the strong women out here who sat in what our culture, our tradition, or our language calls siwinda, meaning that women, elders who train you on how to be everything that you should be as a woman, they made me be who I am. As an African feminist, when I say African feminist, I mean the journey of an African woman lobbying for space within the space that is occupied by all. I don't push the men, I don't bang the table, I don't take knuckles, I don't bare my knuckles, but we negotiate and we agree and we agitate for space peacefully. So as a politician, I sat in the county assembly as a nominated member, agenda top-up. When you get into the assembly, it is really tough. After being nominated, the men are waiting. They call you Kionjo. They call you names. They call you ya kuongeza, like you have no voice. The men, I'm not talking about all men, I'm talking about some men, they also think that probably how you got in here, which is quite derogatory, is through your bottom's power. Not remembering that women also have their brains. Women also agitate to fit in spaces just the way we have sat. So for you to pass policies, to pass bills, to agitate for bills and budgets that are women-friendly, that ensure that we are safe, we are healthy, and we are empowered, is also not easy. Even in the community, for you to save space, women that are illiterate, women that are semi, women are rich, and ensure that we all understand the same language isn't easy. So the journey has not been easy, but I have learned to work with fellow women. We hold our hands, we embrace each other, we urge each other, and I also read a lot about some of the women that weathered the storms before us, the ones who created paths, and also by acknowledging the strength of each and every one of us. So far, that's where I am.
Thank you, Caroline. What I'm trying to take home here from the panel discussion, issues of interest is unequal representation of women in the political space. This starts from the county up to the national government. And you know we have now the issue of a third gender rule. Yeah, the other day that the National Assembly was to be, they were advised to go home because they cannot bring us in our midst. Bring us in their midst. Another issue of interest is mentoring, having mentors. Senator said that someone hold your hand. A woman needs someone to hold their hand. And if it's not your father, it might be your uncle, your brother, your husband, and if your fellow women also hold your hand and teaching you the ropes. So we need to mentor our girls and mentor our women and expose girls to opportunities so that we can weather the storm. Learning from the historical great women of our times. And this is to let women and girls take their place in leadership. By the way, in 2016, we had a professional forum before the election of 2017 here in Kisumu. And the Right Honorable, former Prime Minister, I had an opportunity to be in that forum and I asked him, what is the place of women in Nyanza politics? Before that, you would see one lone woman out of 15 seats is one being elected. For the first time this time, apart from the county women rep position, which is by default women compete among themselves, in Southern Nyanza, from Oma Bay, there were more women being elected in the legislature through vote. Are you getting that? We have more representation than any other parliament at the MCA level, county assembly, but we are still saying it's not enough. So what is the problem? Are women not electing themselves? In my son's class, there are 76, and there are 48 girls, and 25 boys, about 25 or 27. When it came to class representation, the ladies elected themselves as president of class and vice president. The class had full ladies representation. They were more assertive and say affirmative action for ourselves. So why can't we? There are more women voters than men, isn't it? Women vote more. Why can't women vote? Women. What is missing in us as women? As a woman, another key point I captured was, as a woman, you carry the dreams. As a woman leader, you carry the dreams, Honorable Rose, and Dr. Karugu, and all women in Kenya, leaders. You carry the aspiration and dreams of women to come. Meaning that if you say you are quitting, why can't you? Women don't quit, by the way. Let me tell you. They'll even pack their things and go to their home, and tomorrow remember, oh, my home. She'll wake, my husband is not feeling well. She'll go back home with her bags. So we don't quit. So why should we quit in politics? Are you getting that? Because if you quit in politics, you are judged more because you are saying you are letting go a whole generational opportunity. Another speaker talked about the conflicts which hinder women from progression. Conflicts in home. And these are in terms of decision making, resource allocation, who owns what, who owns what property, who owns what money, who is to speak, who is to pay fee. This conflict draw women back because, and it even deny girls. You know, when there's a boy and a girl in the home, the boy will go to school, the girl will say, you wait. If she's tired, somebody will come and pay dowry. This is still happening. If it's not happening in the city, it's happening in our rural villages. Issues of resources such as water, healthcare have become a challenge to women. And the last one, which is usually annoying, this I'm saying, it's my opinion, it's annoying to me. When we talk about sexual intonation, we have kupata bure, alipata na, what Caroline said, she has a sponsor. Imagine. I have my classmate here. He knows we got it through sweat. The scribe, Emeka Yaka, is my classmate, and we got it through sweat. We are going through the undergraduate education with him, and it was not easy, and Caroline will tell you, it's sweat and tears. Even Rose here, sweat and tears. Even engineer, education is sweat and tears for all gender and all that. We are going to question session. Question or comment from the audience? Please assist us. Someone take the mic.
Thank you. Edgar, I represent Kenya Medical Training College, Kondele campus. So this question goes to the speaker of the of the county of Kisumu. Okay, apart from social issues that the county is trying to address in order to empower women, I would like you at least to tell us the health issues that the county is trying in order to empower women, and are you maybe sure that it's really reaching to these girls? Like, for example, ukiangalia Manyata kule chini, will you kindly tell us, will you assure us that these things reach those people at the outcast, especially girl child? Then, another one goes to the Deputy Governor, Dr. KARUGU. In 2012, I remember very well, there was like a the court, like it said that the parliament should make sure it sorts out the issue of a third gender rule in 2012. Now, when Maraga said that the president shall, not may, shall dissolve the parliament if the gender issue is not solved, there was a section of some women, not men, of a certain party. I won't mention the party. Not men, it's women from a certain party. They came up and they told Maraga that it's like he wasn't doing the right thing. So it's like a woman is fighting a woman. It's just the same way. I remember while I was young, ladies, they used to say, if a man has got a dimple, then the man is being called a princess. Then if a lady is heavily built, like akona muscles, the girls call that boy a tomboy. So, for example, for the feminists, madam, what can you do at least to remove this mindset in order for us to bring this thing of gender role into equilibrium and to make Kenya a better place and a place to be? Thank you so much.
Thank you. We take questions. In front. Let's hear from this side of the room, then we go to the other side. Yeah?
Okay, I also want to appreciate the panelists. Dr. KARUGU, thank you very much. I am in the city board, and I remember when we were doing the groundbreaking for the renovation of this center, you were there. And today, you are also with us as we launch this center. Thank you very much. Power to a woman.
Welcome.
I want to appreciate all the panelists, and my question goes to Senator NYAMUNGA about the two-third gender principle. There has been some talks that some of the reasons why the gender bill has never been successfully tabled is because of the women themselves who are inside there not supporting, not all, some women, there's that allegation that some women have not supported that bill. Now you are here with us, would like to know, is it true or not. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Give the gentleman at the back.
My name is Clement, and I just want to know if at all I'm wrong, then you correct me. I hold the opinion that affirmative action where people, and I'll give a specific case in the Senate, we have 16 women nominated. When it comes to very crucial issue of resource allocation, they don't vote. So we question why. Why are they there? I hold the opinion that affirmative action can be counterproductive. That we need to have women elected, and they serve a better purpose if they are elected, as opposed to being, nominated, being given those positions. I want to be told if at all I'm politically incorrect. And then number 2, again, the 2/3 gender principle. I hold the opinion that we must not have a resolution that supports the expansion of parliament because of financial implications. Individuals who earn super salaries, 1.2 million a month, and then you want to expand that house still exponentially, putting in 100 more members or so. I hold the opinion that we would rather, if at all that must happen, if the principle has to be realized through expanding the house, then we would rather remove the principle from the Bill of Rights. I want to be told if at all I'm politically incorrect. Thank you.
Thank you. One more hand this time, then we move to the other side of the room. At the back, at the back. He has been persistent.
Thank you. I think I'm the only person who came here with my daughters, because I really mean that I would like my daughters to be mentored. My name is Adonija Owenyami. I would like to raise some 2 comments, and these comments go to the Speaker and Honorable NYAMUNGA. I want to talk about non-communicable diseases. The county has never passed a bill on non-communicable diseases, and I would like Honorable NYAMUNGA also to take this one up. I've been an advocate about sickle cell disease that has been really affecting our people, and we try to approach, because sickle cell disease has been really devastating, especially to the women caregivers. Women caregivers really suffer a lot. Sickle cell disease, you walk, but nobody can detect that you are suffering. We have been undergoing a lot of things in terms of financial constraint and even social constraint on sickle cell disease. These non-communicable diseases, the county has to pass a budget and really look into this. People are suffering in the Lake region, from Kisii to Busia, and people talk about building economic blocks, but nothing is really happening. You go to an hospital, you have to bear the cost of this disease. Really, let's try to pass a bill like the one they did in Uganda, so that at least sickle cell disease can be taken care of. Tax heavens should be given to parents who have sickle cell disease or who are taking care of children with sickle cell disease. Currently, somebody who is like disabled enjoy this tax. Drugs for people, HIV, are being given out free. But what are we doing about sickle cell disease? We are doing nothing about it. And we know it exists, and it's really very painful. This is something that I would like us to move even to the parliament, so that sickle cell disease sufferers are taken care of. That's one thing that I would like to put forward.
Thank you. If I'm not right, Madam Jan Bogo, please. She want to tell us something or a comment? Yes.
I wanted to say something about participation of women in public life and politics specifically. And I'm just trying to share with you what my view is, and in a very, very short way. First of all, I want you, as women leaders who are coming up in politics, deputy governor, members of the Senate, and so on, and speaker, please let the women, and this is a general call, all of us, we have to belong to political parties to begin with. Because we experienced a very shameful situation in 1992 when we put up a lot of women, we trained them for 5 years. At the time of nomination, my dear ladies, we lost almost all of them. Party nominations. That is where we lost the whole team, almost the whole team. Because they joined parties which didn't have anything to do with them. You got to belong there, participate in the elections, compete for significant positions in the party, so that when your colleague comes, you are one of the people who are clearing the candidates to run in your party. Come on, yeah? Then you will see a change. The whole thing lies with political parties. Get engaged, pay the dues, and be in the central council, the governing council, the election board of that particular party, and we'll be able to put in more women in the coming season. All right?
Thank you. You move to the other side of the room. Yes, there, just immediately after you. The gentleman, yeah, just immediately next to you.
Thank you very much, panelists. This issue was discussed here yesterday and then today. The question of gender parity. I was impressed by a statement by one of the panelists yesterday who said, and today I've heard the same thing, that today women are very brave and they do not care what you want to call them and how you want to insult them during the elections. And indeed I believe, as I perceive and see, that that is where we are today. Why do we want to have a lot of questions whether the parliament is the one which has failed and so forth? And yet statistically, the women, if you look at the women who are voters, they are far, far more than the men. With that bravery they are talking about today, why don't they just get the bull by the horn, stand, and work for it through the ballot without fear? Because if you can do that, I am sure you are going to sort it out very easy. Men are very poor voters. The women are very faithful. Why are you not faithful to yourselves? This is the question. That is one. Two, the gender issues being talked about in terms of one dimension. But yet we know that there is the elective and the appointive aspect. The elective one seems to be getting too much attention and so much noise. What is the system, the society, the government, and everyone doing about the appointed aspect? Is there some policy being shaped to take care of this? Because in the institutions, public or private, people have already been appointed and they have taken positions for one reason or another, and one gender is too high, too much above, particularly the men gender are too high. How are you going to undo this? And how are you going to solve it? It's not a very easy matter. Why one side only? Are you also thinking of the appointive, and is there a policy on how to solve it? Thank you.
Thank you. In the front, then we move like that at the front.
Thank you, Dr. Skora. I want to confirm that in case there is doubt that you went to school, you did not go to school, then I'm your witness here. You are my classmate at the university. A general question, but I would want to hear the feelings of the senator and the deputy governor particularly about this. Senator NYAMUNGA, I was seated where you were seated in the morning with Madam Child here. And the same issues came up. There is a proposal in the BBI over this gender thing that we could go to the elections and then have party lists in Parliament and the Senate so that if there are any gaps, we fill them from the proposed party lists. What are your reflections on it? I would also want to hear the reflections of the good deputy governor. And when you go to the people of NYERI, tell them that we love them.
Thank you. Thank you. At the back.
Kwa majina naitwa mhubiri Philip Gishuki. Mimi ni mhubiri wa Presbyterian Church. Jambo ambalo liko mbele yetu wakati huu, especially kwa wasichana na vijana, ni juu ya shule. Nimetoka field nikizunguka. Kuna shida ambayo iko mbele. Watoto wengi especially wasichana, kuna wasichana karibu 3 walikuwa wananiambia ni wanunulie uniform. Wengine wameolewa. Hiyo miezi ambayo imekuwa ni ya corona, kuna mambo mengi yamefanyika sana ambayo ni fiche, ambayo haijulikani kwa watoto wetu ambao wanarudi shule. Ningetaka kuambia wenye wako especially viongozi wetu, before Monday mzungumzie juu watoto wakirudi shule wasilipishwe chochote. Uniform warudi hata kama hawana uniform, kwa sababu wengi sasa wanahitaji hizo uniform. Na wazazi wengi hawana fedha. Wazazi wengi wako chini. Kwa sababu Jumatatu inafika na kuna watoto ambao wanasema hawana uniform. Wengine wameolewa, wengine sijui kuna shida gani. Ni vizuri labda viongozi ongee hili jambo, na Jumatatu inapofika wasichana wote, hata wale wameolewa, wengine hata nimeona wana mimba, waambiwe warudi shule Januari. Asanteni.
Thank you. We are now taking, I cannot say, just to be fair, there are only 2 hands now. I'll respect the 2 hands. Our audience has special today in our discussion. There's a lady at the far right. Then there's a gentleman in the middle here. Then we finish the question session.
Thank you very much. I've spoken before, but I will speak again now. I wrote an article that I published in 2010 in which I made the argument that the state, this is apropos this 2/3 gender rule or any affirmative action, that the state as presently constituted in Africa, many African countries, does not have the capacity to provide equality for women and men. Now that's my hypothesis. Because the state is a hybrid from an earlier colonial form, and we have kind of taken over the structure of that state, which was very anti-feminist, and we've incorporated it in our system without much change. So that's one thing that I wanted you to consider. The other question, I just have another suggestion that I think would be bearing considering. Here we are as African feminists, African people. We have a culture, we have a ground on which we stand, our identity. Of course, now from the discussion we've had, there's shifting issues that are causing people to have identity change and so on. But we're still Africans. We're not going to be Wazungus tomorrow. So what ground are we standing on as Africans who want to share, enjoy our culture, but also deal with this equality issue? The ground we stand on is something we may want to consider to discuss to see how we marry our own perspectives as people of this continent and the equality discussions, taking also the strong points of women. You know, this culture, I said it the other day, this culture has strong points for women. A man without a wife doesn't mean much. In families, a man does not build a home before he is married. So that there are certain of those cultural positions that women can take and make strategic use of, rather than just letting them go and then starting from scratch. So I just wanted us to consider those 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. The last question or commentary?
To the panelists, mine is a word of encouragement regarding the teaching of the Quran to the women. You know, we were created when Adam slept and God removed the ribs and then created a woman. So you took the 75% of power from men to you. And you are the gold mine of the nation, if you don't know. I would like to encourage you on one thing. If you can unite, you have the number. What is wrong to take over even the presidency itself? It is up to you. You are the enemy of women themselves. So take that enmity out of your round, and then there is where you will see where you would be. When a child is born and the child starts talking, the first word a child talk about is what? Mama, mama, mama. So what are you waiting for? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the audience, for the fruitful engagements. I'd like to go back to my panelists, to the far right. Honorable Elisha, your take on the sentiments from the audience, please.
Thank you so much. I think I'd got 2 questions. But before I answer that, let me say that based on the opinion by many, if it was a mess, I would have put a question, but based on what many or more of the scholars have said, is that it is real and it's true that there are more women than men during the voting periods. That's if I look at the elective part of gender issues. So I want to agree with them that women in most cases becomes enemies of their own. It may be the bitter truth, because with the number and even in the voting stations, the turnout is normally that there are more women compared to men. Even the politicians themselves will tell you that they will strive to associate themselves much with women, followed by the wazees and then the youths. Before I became the speaker, I was the MC Kisumu North Ward, and I was elected. And that was the trick, that associate yourself with women, then you are sure you are going to win, because once they say they are going to vote you, they will vote you. So that should be the case. Another scenario is that when you go to, I've gone to a restaurant or a bar, you will find that ladies would prefer to serve men, and they will not prefer to serve fellow ladies. What is the reason? It is because they are an enemy of their own. So it's all about attitude change. When that change, then it will go as we recommend. Finally, when we talk about gender issues or the third gender rule, it is not about women. It is about either gender. As an engineer, I believe in the power of probability. If you have a sack of maize and there is one bean inside that sack of maize, there is still probability that you can pick that bean when you are told to pick one grain at random. So it is us to take that responsibility and move forward. Now back to my questions. There was a question about non-communicable diseases bill at the national level and at the county level. I want to answer that this way. The problem is not about laws, because if there is no law at the county level, then there is a law at the national level. And with the services that are fully devolved, if there is no law, then normally the national law will take precedence. Otherwise, the counties are advised to make their own laws, because there is uniqueness in dynamics in each and every county. Now, what is the problem? The problem is implementation. How to implement these particular laws. But I don't want to say that the executive, both at the national or the counties, are not doing their work. There is the issue of constraints. And in every activity, there are only three constraints. The constraint of finance, the constraint of a time, and the constraint of so many things to be done at a go. At any time, Senator NYAMUNGA will tell you here that previously they were struggling about the issue of how much money goes to each county. That is a financial constraint, because there is a lot of demand at the county levels amidst the least resources available. So it's the balance of what is the priority at a time. And that brings me even to the question on the health issues. Somebody mentioned about Manyata. There would be need by the county to reach each and every person. But because of the financial constraints, it becomes difficult. And it's high time we stop thinking about the government only. Let us embrace the issues of partnership, whether it's public-private partnership, or public-public partnership, or private-private partnership. It is very key, and the attitude on us will help us address the issues of health effectively. Somebody once said, and I agree with him, that over 80% of the diseases that we have are as a result of hand washing, sanitation. And look at what happened when COVID came. There is tremendous reduction in communicable diseases. The non-communicable diseases, in as much as they are now coming out to be rampant, has not been given more attention. But I'm happy that there are so many attempts to come up with bills addressing the same, but the coming up with the bill is not the answer. The answer is implementing those particular bills. Finally, the question on health as Kisumu County, there is an attempt to bring in on board regulations on Kisumu County social health insurance fund. And I think that bill is before the assembly. The idea is to target the indigents. The challenge is how vulnerable is somebody? Because I believe we do not have it's called a vulnerability, something to measure vulnerability. Everybody will pronounce themselves vulnerable at any particular point. If you are not able to pay 100 million or 10 million and you are rich, you are vulnerable. So what we are attempting to do is to base the socioeconomic data of UHC collection previously, and the data is giving clearly those who are felt to be not able to pay a single cent for their health care system. And there is a partnership between Kisumu County, NHIF, and Farm Access to assist 45,000 indigents, family, not or household, not individual. Once the households are assisted, then the members of those particular households will benefit. But regarding the gender issues, I think it is important that we change our attitude and agree that what men can do, but the women must come out strongly to support their fellow women.
Thank you so much, Honorable Elisha. Your take, Senator Ross.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity again. I think I squandered my first time, but if I can summarize in brief, that the women in parliament or the women in politics, they've really tried their best. At the Senate, what I've seen that anytime there is serious debate I don't say that men don't debate, but men don't have, they are normally very impatient. And if you need to sit sometimes up to after 6 o'clock, you will find that the house will be left by the women only. So I have seen a lot of resilience in women, the way they are bringing issues, questions in the house, statements, motions, and even bills. So it's a very big encouragement. And that now takes me to also appreciate the women who are ahead of us. We know women that were ahead of us. I saw Mrs. Mbogo here. I have seen Mayor. I have seen Mrs. Olendi. I have seen women who have served this country in different capacities. They are still serving now. And that is why we are always complaining, and not even complaining. Really, we want our space. Women, we need our space. The time President Obama came here, one statement he made, that you cannot have a team playing, but half of the team is absent. So definitely, there's also somebody who said from the audience that without a woman anywhere, even in the home, I remember when I was young, the first thing my father would ask, Mama nitie, is Mama there? Then when Mama is there, then you enter the house. As I came from school, I asked for the first thing I asked, is Mama there? Meaning that there's a very important role that women play. Going to the questions, the 2/3 gender rule. The 2/3 gender rule was a requirement of the Constitution 2010. And it was given a lifeline of 5 years. Meaning from 2010 to 2015, it should have been, it was supposed to be progressive, because it was realized that it cannot be realized at a go. So there was a window of 5 years. So when the 5 years elapsed in 2015, the National Assembly requested the courts to give them another extra year. The year was given, and the year came and passed. But in my view, what I think that instead of going back or sitting with other stakeholders to look for way forward, they've never done that. So it has remained a bone of contention. And it is not true that it is the women that are not interested in passing this bill. That is not true. The truth is, it is a constitutional requirement. It has to be put in place. We don't want to be left at a corner with the Chief Justice making a proclamation that the President should dissolve the Parliament. We should not have reached there. And definitely, looking at the situation, the economic situation in the country, it becomes very difficult for anybody to tell us that we should dissolve Parliament. I don't know if people are for it or not, but yes, we could be for it, because we are the women and we are looking for it. But is the time right? That is the question that we may be asking ourselves. So it is not about the women fighting. I remember last Parliament, when I was the women representative, we tried. But what I saw is, why are we begging? Why are we begging for the Constitution? This is a constitutional right. Why do we take these men for dinner, for dance, for tea, for them to vote? I found that was very odd. We did it, but we didn't succeed. So it is not a women fighting. We have tried our best, and it is not about trying. It is a constitutional right that if they don't want it, the best thing that should be done is to change the Constitution. But before it is changed, it has to be realized. That is question one. Number two was about voting. But how come the nominated don't vote? It is so simple. The nominated members don't vote because voting is done per sub-county. If it is per sub-county, it can be per ward. It should be, it can be per county or sub-county or the ward. So if, for example, in Kisumu, there is a nominated senator, myself and Senator Outa. So if we vote two of us, it will mean that there will be a situation of unfairness, because Kisumu will have voted twice. If you look at Kakamega, there are 2 nominated and 1 elected. If they voted all of them, it will mean they will have an advantage over the others. So it is as simple as that. Anytime the substantive senator is not there, the nominated ones vote. So it is about proper and equal representation across the country. I think that is very clear. Now, expansion of Parliament. Should we expand Parliament? Should we not? For me, I would make it very simple, that there must be commitment. There must be commitment by the political parties, because the women play a very big role when it comes to campaign, doing so much at the grassroots level. We campaign, we talk to our husbands, we talk to our children, but when it comes to food on the table, then the women are second class. So parties must be serious, and we want to see what is coming in the BBI. It was suggested that parties should do their listings, and after the listings, now we campaign for the county. Somebody mentioned that all of us should belong to parties if you want to participate in management or leadership of this country. So we must be members of any political party so that we have party listings, and from there we make, because for example, I was given nomination because of the seats that ODM got as senators. So ODM had about 24 senators, and every four senators you get a nomination. Every 4 senators you get a nomination. So that way we will reduce the numbers in the elective posts, and at the same time we will get equal representation. At least we will have enough women. Uganda has done it. They are almost, I think, about 42%. Rwanda has done so well, 62%. And it's about the commitment of the leadership. If there is commitment by our parties and our leaders, political leaders, this will be a thing of the past. And we'll have equal and fair representation by both male, female, and even marginalized people like the youth and people living with disability. The next question was about, I think sickle cell is already taken care of, but somebody talked of economic blocks. Economic blocks is the way forward for this country, for the county governments to work. The money that is allocated at the national government cannot be enough, whatever the situation. And I keep telling that because I'm bringing a bill, a very important bill, that gives the governors a mandate to develop the resources. For example, Kisumu, we must develop the lake, which is already ongoing. We must develop tourism at the lake, transport, fishing along the lake. We must develop our rice, because rice of ORARO rice is nowhere. We are only relying on Mwea rice. We must develop our sugarcane, and that should cut across and make the economic blocks. Then that way, and that bill will be supported, and it's already getting a lot of support, even from the governors themselves. It will give them a leeway, even to bring themselves together and look for resources beyond the government. Because government alone is like a man working and the rest of the family doing nothing. So when the man is leaving, where's money for this? Where's money for this? That is what is happening right now. And the last question is about women not electing fellow women. That one, the reasons according to me, I think we have been socialized to believe in men. So when we go for elections, we'll be looking for men. But now we must work and sensitize our people that women can be just as good leaders as men. The another thing that is lacking on women that makes us elect fewer women is because of the economic resources, financial resources, and then the fear of violence. Those are the main reasons that if we take care of them, I think we'll be having a lot of women competing. Then another, opening schools. That one would be very difficult for me to answer because it's an issue of the Ministry of Education. And I think Kenyans have been making a lot of noise about opening schools. I am so surprised that when the minister said yes Monday, it's like a man looking for a girl, but all the time the girl said no. But when now the man says yes, now she's so surprised she doesn't want to be married. This is what I'm seeing in our education sector. So we must open our schools. As for school fees, if you are in a private school, you must pay the fees. If you are in a public school, the government will take care of most of the issues. So I don't think that, to me, that's the teenage pregnancy is what we should be grappling with. It has been there, shocking figures. There is a campaign going on around the nation against teenage pregnancy and children becoming parents. You become a parent and you yourself, you are a child. I think there is nothing I have left behind. I think I've looked at most of the issues that were raised. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator NYAMUNGA. Your take, Dr. KARUGU.
All right, thank you very much. I think most of my issues are similar to the issues that were fronted to our dear Senator. But I'll just give my perspective, perhaps, especially on the issue of gender parity. And, you know, we have come a long journey in this country, and we must appreciate, like I said before, those who have gone before us. The truth is, there have been some appreciable efforts on issues, gender equity and gender parity in this country. We are not where we used to be. And so, because it's easy for us to sit here and complain, but not really to appreciate the fact that there has been some steps. And one that perhaps has not surfaced in this conversation today is the fact that we have in our county assemblies been able to deal with the 2/3 gender rule, because we have a clause in the County Government Act that requires for that top-up. And that top-up is more than likely going to be, you know, gender-based, and therefore women have benefited. And so there are some gains, and so that we don't look like this is just a gloomy session where women do what they do best. They sit, they complain and cry and throw pity parties, and then they go home. So we want to appreciate some of the steps that are there, including, like I said, even us being here today, and the men, and I can see there's more men in this sitting than there are women, and the men have also been very patient. They have not talked us down, and they have also not looked us down. So I want to really appreciate, especially the men in this room, for giving us this chance and the patience to even be here discussing gender issues. Now, having said that, it's also important to note that one thing that has lacked over the years is the goodwill. Like Senator NYAMUNGA says, these issues are in the Constitution. If you look at your Constitution, Article 130, Article 132, there is a requirement for gender parity. There's a gentleman who asked me the question of appointive and elective posts, that we are concentrating on elective posts and not on appointive posts. Now, I wish to let you know that even appointive posts, according to our current Constitution, there is a requirement that whenever the president is appointing or anybody is appointing, that the 2/3 gender principle is looked into. Has that happened? No, it hasn't. Why hasn't it happened? And it's in our Constitution? Because there is no goodwill. Why? If you ask the men, women are fighting women. If you ask the women, women also say men are financing women to fight against women, which is true. The two notions are true. Because the only way to bring a woman down, as a man, if you start fighting a woman, you look very petty. But men are very smart people, and I want to appreciate the brains in this room, the male brains in this room. You guys are smart. So what you will do to camouflage, to hide in the background, is you will look for Senator NYAMUNGA, and you will tell her the nastiest things about me, and say, you know, Dr. KARUGU is sleeping with your husband. And you know, those things are very dear to us as women. And immediately, Dr. NYAMUNGA will start, will start looking at me differently. So the only way to make sure that you are winning the women vote, if you're a clever man in this country, is you make sure that the women are separated. Because if we are united, we are a force to reckon with. And congratulations, because you have been able to do exactly that. However, maybe this is the time we need to say, you have succeeded. But you see, you have not succeeded because you come home to us and we are still grumbling. You have us as the girlfriends and we are not happy with you. So to maliza this noise, let us come to a round table and discuss. Because the truth is, the goodwill is not there. Just recently, with the appointment of CS Betty Minor, the cabinet finally achieved the 2/3 gender rule. On the 8th, is it the 7th or the 8th year of President Kenyatta's regime, we were finally able to achieve that in cabinet. And why in cabinet? Because cabinet is so visible. Behind the scenes, the 2/3 gender rule has not been taken into account in appointive positions, ambassadors, PSs, everybody that is appointed. So there is no goodwill, and that is why our one and only hope lies in the Building Bridges initiative. And I want to thank the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and the President of this nation for coming together and saying, let us reason together and let us take this country forward. Let us put aside our political and our tribal imbalances and put the goodwill of Kenyans forward. Because in this BBI, we have put together as women a proposal, like I cited before, what we're calling the Common Women Agenda. And we're saying, Number one, let's look at economic and social rights that are dear to women. The rights to access of water, clean water, affordable health care, social rights, social security, food. These are human rights that are very, very important to a woman. When you have a male governor, you see the male governor starts with infrastructure. The roads are done very well, the airports are refurbished. But when you have a woman governor, like we saw in Bomet and like we're seeing in the two other counties, they start with healthcare. That is dear to them. They start with water. It's dear to women because we think that these are the things that are important. So therefore, the issue of the 2/3 gender rule will be sorted by the BBI if, for instance, our common women agenda is taken into account and if it has been incorporated. And I just want to run you through, so that you're just not hearing of a document that is there, of some of the things that we have cited under the common women agenda. Like I said, number one, we started with the issue of economic and social rights. And then the second is the issue of representation, which is the 2/3 gender rule. And we are saying that it is important that in elective and appointive positions that we see the 2/3 gender rule fully embraced without further excuses. However, we're saying that just having this in the Constitution and making strong statements has not taken us anywhere. We are still grappling with the goodwill. So we are taking this burden back to the political parties and wanting to strengthen our political parties so that therefore we go the South African route where the political parties will be the people who then come up with a party list at any one time and determine who takes whatever political position and ensures that the issue of gender parity is taken into account. We are also recommending that the issue of women reps, because if you look at your women rep, for instance, today, your women rep sits in a house that is constituency based. And therefore, if she has to lobby for resources, she lobbies, but the MP is not too happy with her. So they are permanently on a coalition because the MP is saying, what are you doing in my constituency? Why are you lobbying for resources and roads in my constituency? That is my responsibility. Don't touch my CDF. I am the duly elected MP. So you have somebody who represents a county in a constituency-based house. She is not going to be effective. Once again, they are going to go back and say, you see, we told you, women are not effective. They are just slay queens. There are people who got there because they are sleeping with so-and-so. There are people who got there because they are beautiful. It then goes back. And I told you, I started by saying, men are very smart, because I think even having the women reps sitting in the National Assembly was a setup to show that this is not going to work. And you can hear a lot of men beginning to say that these women are not doing anything. What has your women rep done? Forget the fact that she only has 8 million to do anything, and the people complaining have 100 million to work with. They're saying this person who has 8 million, who is misplaced in a house where she sits and cannot lobby for anything because the constituencies have their owner, is now just a slay queen, is now just somebody who slept her way up. We are exactly where you wanted us to be, gentlemen. Congratulations once again. However, in BBI, we are proposing to regularize this dysfunction. Let's move these women into Senate. Let us have every county electing and not nominating a senator, female senator, and a male senator. That way, we have gotten rid of nominated senators, and everybody that sits in Senate has a vote. So the issue that has been raised by your nominated senator then ceases to arise, because these people will actually be able to vote and front the issues of your county. At the same time, this person now will properly be placed in a house where she can be able to front issues of the whole county, can be able to oversee devolution in the counties, and therefore is more effective and is more efficient. And we have come up with a formula that we shared with the BBI team, and I hope that some of these things will be looked at, because this is our one line. You know the way there was that game that they played called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? and you had just one lifeline for we as women in this country, because we have tried everything, and you can hear them saying, we tried, we asked, we prayed. They even wore headscarves. There's a day I saw the whole bunge was full of women in headscarves. What haven't they done? But there is no goodwill. And like I said, we are also not socialized to vote for women. So don't ask us, why are you not voting for women? It is because you, as our fathers, socialized us to say that you are the leaders. So we cannot unsocialize and unlearn these things in rocket speed. Or you must also give us time to also unlearn some of the things that you men have taught us, that you are the only capable leaders. And then gradually we can move into seeing women occupy leadership positions, and finally even having a woman president in this country. The other issue that came up was the issue of schools opening. I think that's a valid point. I think it's unfair for parents to be asked to go back to school. In fact, I was just speaking to a headmaster before I came here, and they said, we can't afford all these things that Magoha is saying, that the schools must have, I don't know how many desks, we must have how many water stations, and so many more extra stuff. So it's strenuous for everybody. And I think the only way to deal with it is on Monday, let every student, whether you're pregnant or not, whether you have uniform, or you have burst out of your uniform, just go to your school on Monday. Let us then measure the crisis, and then, because for COVID-19, we have had to develop policies and programs as we understand the pandemic, and as also we understand how to counter the pandemic. So let's send our children to school. I think the pandemic is not that bad now. Somebody was making a joke and asking, are we done with Corona, or are we done with the Corona money? I do not know. I don't want to answer that. But I think our children should be able to go to school on Monday. On the last thing, and the topic for today, which is weathering the storm, I thought about it and I said, women are actually built to weather storms. It's not that when will we wither a storm, it's that storms are part of our life. Because if you look at the birth process, if you look at a woman in labor, even how you came into this world, your mother went through a storm. The minute you're born as a woman, you go through a storm. The entire life, you're supposed to look after your siblings, your male siblings. I remember my mother used to ask me if my brothers have eaten, and I would wonder if I have a stomach also. Because I thought if the boys are hungry, I also should be hungry. But it was my responsibility to feed my brothers. And that responsibility then goes into it. That's why I said socialization is very, 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 very important. And how you undo socialization cannot be just a 1 day, 2 day, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years discussion. It's got to be a process that all of us embrace. So the issue of gender is one that we can speak about for 2-3 days, but I think, like I said, it's not all lost, and I think even the fact that we are here having this discussion is a great, great milestone, and I want to encourage us to have a lot more of these conversations, because I still think that our best days are still ahead. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karugu, for that insight. Now come to Caroline. Caroline, your take.
A lot of questions that were asked are cross-cutting, and many of them have been answered. But as a woman leader, I will also touch on the issue of the two-thirds gender principle. This is our constitutional right, and it had timelines. The society is male, the structures are male, everything is male. The political processes are male, and we are just learning to go through our political processes as women, which is quite challenging. Saying that women are their own enemies is also one of the many adjectives that the male sort of a society has sat down and crafted so that we continue dividing ourselves. Look at a situation where I want to campaign as a woman against a man. I was not born with you. I met you in old age. I left my family. I don't know your people. I'm just learning. Before I get to learn you, I am trying to learn your people, to learn your family, to learn your food, to learn your cultures, to learn your religious ways. And also to try and make money for myself as a woman. So when we go into voting, the men will vote their relative. I'm not your relative. I'm just trying to be your relative. So that is why, like the others have said, that the way we were socialized is because of the structures that are male, that women have roles, they have chores, and men sit in their own policy-making tables at family levels, at the community levels. We have made great milestones as women. We have come, the women that were there before us, some of them sitting on these platforms, who went ahead and went to school, have sat when the Constitution was being crafted, have sat in spaces where some of the cultural activities have been removed, have sat within the cabinets, have sat everywhere, and are trying to use whatever capacity they have to change the mindset of a man. Remember, these are creatures that were created. None of us was created when the other was there. The woman was not there when the man was created, and the man went to sleep, and when he woke up, he found a stranger. So we are just trying to coexist. So saying that women are their own enemies is a big lie. Remember also that economically we are just trying to be resilient. If we empower the women, if we build resilience within the women folk, you give them grants, you empower them through managing their own affairs, making their own decisions, managing their own money, during public participation, preparing them, not just bringing documents, and again, strategically looking for partners. Some of the countries like the Netherlands, Dubai, Israel, they were drought-stricken areas, but they have made it. Why can't we make it? Why can't we strategically partner with other countries so that we can make women live in peace? We can give women water. When we go into a hall right now and they ask, what do men want? They will mention roads, they will mention buildings, they will mention bars, they will mention discotheques, they will mention even a place where they just flaunt themselves. But women will say, we want water, we want food for our children, we want sanitary towels for our girls, we want health care, we want a maternity wing that is dignified, and we want proper markets. So women have tried. And also, there was a question about feminism and body shaming. I call it body shaming because when a woman is built in a certain way that probably you do not look more feminine, or I do not know what parameters you measure how a woman's body is. I don't know what size of hips or buttocks or breasts that any man would want to say that this one looks like a tomboy and this one looks like a real woman. Women are women. Don't we have everything you have? Have you left some of us because others don't have what we have? We are all women. But again, remember that not every person, every strong woman, some women do not go by the name feminism. They don't like it, or they don't believe in it. They're also just strong women who believe in pushing alone, like Martha Karua. So on that and affirmative action, we must ensure that this process goes on. You are going to give us slots, whether you call us the addition, whether we say that we used bottoms up. Everybody has a bottom. Why don't you use them? So we are going to take the positions, whether you like it, but what we know is affirmative action must go on. Even apart from the political spaces, even in the government, we have women probably who do not have certificates, but they have experience, they have brains, they can I mean, why should men like romancing certificates? Why don't you give women who are experienced and are capable also to run some of these spaces so that women are empowered? One thing about children going back to school. The biggest disaster we are having is men have again sat down and agreed that they are going to make all the young girls pregnant. The girls are pregnant. Some are getting pregnant with their fathers, with their brothers, with their stepfathers. Why have you ganged against us? Who is going to marry those girls that you have used and abandoned? So we must start going back to what we had as dual, where the men were talking to men, and Siwinde, where women are talking to women. Otherwise, we are going to lose a whole generation, and we will have nobody sitting here. Kisumu Social Hall, or Grace Onyango Social Center, is a beautiful place, or a beautiful example of a space where we can have those women speak to our girls. Let us speak to our girls. Let us walk the journey of adolescence with them. It is a very difficult stage where suddenly your body is blossoming, you have feelings, you see a man, you like it, you don't have power to negotiate. Let us hold the hands of our young. Otherwise, we are pretending and our backyards are zero. And I want to salute all the women, the ones who wet their pillows in the night because the men have beaten them, the men have cheated on them, those who are on their knees praying, the ones who brave the rain or sell in the dirt, the ones who are on political positions like our governors, our senator, our media personalities, and all of us. I want to salute us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, the panelists. I think this second round has been very much insightful and very rich. Are we okay, audience? Yeah. Now, to summarize, the women weathering the storm. I want to see how our panelists have been able to discuss this. As I summarize, before I ask them to give 1 minute punchliner, is that women are weathering the storm. In the legislature, they are fighting for a third gender role. Lobbying fervently. They are not sleeping, they are not quiet. They are lobbying. Women are weathering the storm in the legislature. We are weathering the storm. The willingness, it is only through the willingness for women to vote for each other, to fight for, in order to fight for an equal political space. If we cannot carry each other as women, the storm will be impossible. But we have to push and show willingness that we are able to support each other. Another take-home on weathering the storm is that in this journey, we need goodwill, and we are fighting for goodwill from the main national government and the county governments to enhance women participation. Generally, what is being said, that the problem with the third gender rule since 2010, now 10 years on, is that there is no goodwill. That if there is goodwill, we will be egos above the storm as women in politics. We also need a round table for this to happen. Another issue for us weathering storm as women is unlearning the patriarchal-oriented politics, meaning that women, to win themselves off, that the leader must be a man. And that's how we have been taught. The leader must be a man. And anytime a woman, a daughter will see a symbol of a leader on the father. A sister will see a leadership on the brother. A wife will see a leadership on the husband. But the woman is denying herself that she's also a leader in the home. She's also a leader in the community. She's a nurturer, she's a leader. And she can take her political space by unlearning the patriarchal system. Women are built to weather the storm. That's another thing. At childbirth, at home, the decision they go through, weathering the storm in family. Another issue coming up in our weathering the storm is a woman faces a twin-face challenge in politics. Do you vie in where you come from, where you are born? Do we vie for a seat? For example, I'm a daughter of Kisumu County. Do I vie in Kisumu County? Or where I'm exported in Siaya? Where I exported myself, be corrected? Should I vie there? Will they accept me? Are you getting that? So we are facing a twin-face challenge. And the person who is so interesting is the Kirinyaga governor, Honorable Anne Waiguru. She was asked, now are you going to Muranga, now that you are married in Muranga, and now you are a Kirinyaga governor? The same thing the late Joyce Laboso was asked. She was a governor in Bomet, but she was married in Kisumu County. You see the challenges. It's a twin-face challenge. And we are weathering that storm, meaning that we can go back to our father's home area and vie there. And also we can, I think we have an advantage, isn't it? And we can take care of it. Another issue is economic resilience. Women need economic resilience to be active in politics. And this is a storm which will weather. Politics is resources without a clear backup. And I tell you, with patriarchal society politics, it's either your father backing you up in politics, either your uncle, it's either your brother, it's either your husband. Where do women get resources? We cannot inherit land. Sometimes economic decisions at home are lopsided towards patriarchy, and this makes women to be disadvantaged. But the only way is to create economic resilience in women to participate effectively in politics. Thank you, panel, for those insightful remarks. 1 minute, punchline. We call it take home or power puff. Honorable Elisha.
For the storm, you decide whether to go through it or not. Decide whether to go through the storm or not.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mine is that without proper economic empowerment for our women, it will be very difficult for us to move forward. And if you're going to move, it will take us much longer. So for me, I sit on nothing, I see nothing but economic and a very deliberate attempt to economically empower our women. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karugu.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My parting shot, I'll start with the men, is really to thank them, like I said before. Thank you for taking us through the storms of life, because through these storms, we have become very strong. So strong that we are gentle. Thank you for sponsoring our storms, because through these storms, we decided to go back to school. We became so educated so that we can be humble. Thank you, gentlemen, for sponsoring our storms, because through these storms, we have become so passionate about the gender cause that we can now sit and rationalize. We thank you very much. For my sisters, the ladies in the room, well done for everything you have done. Do not give up. Our best days, like I said, are still ahead. Remember the story of Professor Wangari Maathai, the hummingbird, the bird that decided that it was not going to sit and watch injustice. That little bird flew from the little storm and carried just a drop of water, brought this drop of water to a fire. And it hoped that through this small effort that the fire would be quelled. The bigger animals, like the elephants, which had the big trump, looked at the little bird and laughed. Those are our men laughing at us and said, look at this stupid little bird flying, thinking that a drop of water is going to help put down the fire. Do not give up, my dear sisters. The battle is big, bigger than us, but we are inching closer to the final victory point. I thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Mine will be, without you, we are not, and without us, you are not. We need each other because we complement each other. We need the leaders in political spaces to carve out the policies for us. We need to look at everything and listen to the voices from bottom up. Learn to pass the microphone, and when the microphone is passed to you, in whichever capacity, even in the kitchen, bring out your unspoken. I am my sister's keeper, and be your sister's keeper. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my worthy panelists. That has been a very engaging session. Our audience, thank you very much for firing us up and making us very lively and to come up and talk about issues which can improve. The woman, while she's weathering the storm, it has to be lighter. Her wings have to be lighter, just like an eagle. Because a woman is an eagle when she flies. I take the session back to the MC. Thank you very much.
Haya, tuwapigie makofi. Let's appreciate our panelists. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of that session of panel discussion. At this point in time, I want to request the driver of the vehicle KBQ 754H kindly go and give way. The governor is about to arrive. So kindly, with all due respect, go and remove your vehicle. At this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce on stage the Scottish dance, followed by a narrative. Then after that, but before that, as they prepare, you're going to just wait. I want them to have a photo session.
Yes.
A photo session, then the Scottish dance. Then we'll have wisdom with a narrative. Then tomorrow is the D-Day. Remember, it's the grand lounge of Kisumu Social Center. It's no longer a social hall. After the narrative, we'll have a documentary about this place, and that has been done by none other than our very own veteran, Albert Wandago. Smile, Senator. Smile in English. Smile in Dholuo. Kiswahili. Asanteni. Asante sana. Asanteni sana. Thank you for your time. The Scottish dance. The Scottish dance. Then wisdom. Then the documentary. Na ukienda nyumbani kesho pia, kumbuka jioni tuko na live band, Tomiko Dio, Jimmy Likembe, Javoka Mika. Leo tunacheza mpaka asubuhi. Ile asubuhi, the new normal. So usiende nyumbani, tuko na live band. Scottish dance. Scottish dance. I also want to recognize the presence of our CECM for roads. Sisi kule kwetu tunamuita Ben Suda. Karibu sana, waziri. Haya, Scottish dance.
Guest presents, ladies and gentlemen, Rabwell School presents a Scottish dance performed by young Scottish dancers like us during happy occasions. Welcome.
DJ. Check 1, 2. I was doing that so that we welcome His Excellency the Governor of this great county of Kisumu. Once the Governor is seated, they'll do that number again. So with all due respect, Scottish dance, just hold on. Then after that, we'll be having wisdom with a narrative. Then we have a documentary about the journey of this place before, the way it was before, and the new social. Initially, it used to be a social hall. Now it's a social center. Then after the documentary, we'll have the CECM Tourism, Ms. Achielai, who will give the closing remarks. Karibu sana. Tusimame tafadhali. Tusimame tumkaribishe gavana. Karibu sana, karibu sana. Karibu sana. Aya, asante. Tuweze kukaa. Let's all be seated. The Scottish dance. Then we'll have wisdom with a narrative. Then the documentary on Kisumu City. After which I will invite Waziri wa Tourism, who will invite the Deputy Governor to give his remarks, and then invite the Governor. The Scottish dance on stage. Makofi kwao. Let's appreciate them, ladies and gentlemen, Kisumu's finest. We say Kisumu is the home of talent. At this point in time, I want to invite Wisdom to give us a narrative, then we'll do a documentary about Kisumu City.
Preparing food for the day. But when my mother heard of this, she left everything and anything she was doing, took her lesson, tied on her waist, ready to face my father, mundu kumundu. But when he reached at the sitting room, he looked at my father in a manner to suggest that there was a problem. But when he looked at my father's brother, we the children heard shocking words from my mother. My husband, I don't like your brother being in this house. What does he have that we don't have? Huh? My father replied immediately, my wife, why feel insecure when my brother in this house? He's the only brother I have. My mother replied immediately, I am the woman of the house, and I have to know who is going in and coming out of this house. My father, with this weird reply, he told my mother that I picked you on the street, washed you, applied oil on you, then I brought you in as my wife. Then you want to call my house you are alone. You are alone, my love. My mother got mad at him. He went straight to the bedroom, packed her belongings, ready to vacate the house for the sake of my father and his brother. But when he was about to leave the house, her friends intervened and told her not to leave for the sake of we, the children. But my mother still insisted that she must leave the house. That's when my father saw the seriousness my mother had. And so he decided to sing something soothing for the ear, not to let my mother go away. He sang something nice, something encouraging, something good for us. My father thought that this sweet song was going to convince my mother not to leave. But still he was ready to vacate the house and take all the children to go with them. But things were different. That when we, the children, decided to pledge notice to our different parents. There were those of us who pledged notice to our mother. They were called mommy's children. And there were those of us who pledged notice to our father. They were called daddy's children.
have not said anything. And so there was daddy's children and there was mommy's children. Mommy's children could throw words to my father's children, and my father's children could throw words to my mother's children. Things were not right. Tension was all over the house. That forced our house to split into two. Mommy on the other side with her children. Daddy on the other side with his children. Ladies and gentlemen, tension was all over. That forced our neighbors to come in so that they can bring peace and unity. But still, there was nothing. And so, my father sat down to think. He thought, and thought, and thought, and thought that thought. Hey, he thought, and thought, and thought, and thought, and so the song came. From a year, I agree. Bahasha for the sisters, Bahasha for the brothers, Bahasha for the parents, Bahasha for the cooks, and all fragments of Bahasha he took that. But when my mother heard of this, Alirudi home bill, but still they were not talking. We, the children, were left hopeless. And so we decided to join hands together as children so that we can bring peace in our house. We, all of them, we the children, decided to bring our house to peace so that our house will continue. And so, ladies and gentlemen, join me, join us as we try to bring our house together. Amana mnagani? Amana mnagani? Uko sawa? Uko sawa?
Wapi makofi ya wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. That was a narrative by Wisdom. And at this point in time, I want to request Your Excellency that all the focus plus our audience, thank you for your patience. All the focus is now on that documentary. It's about the city of Kisumu. So kama utachoka shingo kidogo, you can just turn your chair. You have a glimpse of the journey of this beautiful city of Kisumu. So macho tu peke yake, alafu tutulie, no movement. Let's watch this. Then I will invite our Waziri for Tourism, Ms. Achialai, to come and give the closing remarks. Haya, twende kazi.
I could come from my house with the bill, he comes with me, because I don't have enough money to buy me, and he doesn't have that bills which I have. Then we can exchange.
If you call it Kisumu, but then there was some who call it Kisumu, and the Karigu call it Mina. So the actual pronunciation is Kisumu. If you look at Kisumu, it is very Mina.
The city of Kisumu, as it is known today, became an important commercial and administrative center in 1981 when the construction of the Kenya-Uganda Railway reached the shores of Lake Victoria. The British who built the railway came stations who worked as assistants, artisans, and engineers. These stations later settled in Kisumu to become the biggest trading community in the state.
The town began at the clock, and it was like a white ship with most of it headed towards the lake. And those were the main shopping areas. From the market, you would come to the fire station and then move to the shops. And on the other side, you would find the post office. And that was just about the town.
Once settled in Kisumu, the colonial administration and religious organizations embarked on a steady and progressive development of schools to build local capacity that was required in government, railway, post office, and others. These schools actually produced Kisumu's first professional elites and leaders.
There were 3 schools for Africans before independence. Kisumu there. Kikuyu boys. Kikuyu girls. We have 3 separate schools. 2 boys, 2 brothers, Kikuyu girls. At the meeting of assembly, I was the chairman of local government committee. And Kisumu naturally was my interest for development. And so we had to cooperate with the mayor who is the new community, so that things work well. Because the mayor was the person in charge of Kisumu town. And when he died, this place was taken by him.
fresh air into the city. The former Koike market has been reclaimed together with the infamous Achot dumpster. Both are now beautiful parks for the people to enjoy. The former streets, crowded with hawkers, have been refurbished for safe walking.
Our city was bedeviled with the challenge of having traders on the streets, pedestrian roads, and such that everywhere we find all about the CBD, people putting their wares. Now we thought, number one, to give the street traders an alternative trading place. And that's why we come up with Chichwa. Chichwa is a market, meaning our market. And the primary objective of doing the pedestrian walks was to give people space to walk. A walking city is a healthy city. That's why we came up with an advisory from the Institute of Transport Development Policy, in which we worked out with designs to make most of our streets pedestrian friendly.
Chichwa Market 1, which is almost 80% done that are already occupied by traders. If you walk around the Kisumu city as well from right now, what we call the triangle, that's the heart of the city. You've seen a lot of non-motorized movement, improvement, and development. Our city is now beautiful. If you walk along our main street in the central business district, doesn't go Kenyatta and Mawa, you see there's now more space for people to move around. We have seats where people can relax. The kind of beauty that's created in our city. We now have large green gardens beside our motorized transport, beautiful flowers. on supporting. And the rest of you can also make people who are supporting and not to go out, but to use people to do. The other thing also, the TV in the house, and people will also come and watch TV. So just exactly after the news to close the bar. There will be the boxing in this hall. Sorry, I didn't mention that. And the one was also called 30 mechanics. So to me, I looked at it as a educational center. I appreciate what they get out of project has done. That is to improve this place. I think this is one of the best things that happened to Kisumu.
Honestly, in this regime of Professor Young, he has done things that we can hold up. And I believe we will lead Kisumu better than we found Kisumu.
Really good, and I like it. I'm proud of it. I see a city where people will be doing business in one class, first site in our city. I see a city where we're having modern market and comparable with other cities in the world. And it will qualify the heritage of Kisumu, or being Kisumu where people used to come to do trade. And I see a future divide in Kisumu City.
Such a center has had a history of about 60 years of being a home to the early residents of Kisumu, most of whom had their early childhood education here. With the funding partner, the French Development Agency and the Kisumu Urban Project, we identified social center as one place that will have enormous impact on the society. Basically, it opens up opportunity for people to come and socialize, but also develop their talents among others.
Check. Thank you so much. That was a documentary. It was done by Albert Wandago. And now we want to also have a look at the governor's perspective of the new social center. In 3 minutes, then I'll call upon Waziri.
Let me welcome you to the new social center in Kisumu, which is being reborn after about 50 years of not doing much there. I think the birth of the social center, furbishing it, having
By then there were so many problems. 2015, the radiotherapy machines were there, the queues were so long, it would take ages and months.
I don't think there's any family which has had low cancer hospitals. If you look at the military, the strategy of the country, we have 3 pillars. One is prevention.
A new conference of several offices, facilities for people with disability. In fact, we want to have a disability office there.
Those are the guys we want to go to hospitals to screen.
In my approach in training, there's one thing I know, that resources, local resources and immediate resources may not be enough. The most important thing in bringing up institutions and programs,
we even have a new restaurant.
With a tangible outcome is networking, what we call institutional development. And women is very, very important in helping us develop this.
We remember that the social center used to be the
So
center.
Governor, we are very delighted as a community for what you are here to launch today. Cancer is a problem. And as people coming from low-income earning society, we have people even dying without knowing that they suffer from cancer. That is why I'm saying that as a community from Punele, this is a greater milestone.
Mostly we talk about cancer and other diseases. Yes, sickle cell is one disease which is affecting so many, and it is a good initiative for this facility of the governor to open a special clinic for this. But I know that Kisumu being the mother of the other countries within the regional economic bloc, this particular initiative will be beneficial not just to us, but to the rest of the people who live in the greater Nyanza and within the Lake region economic bloc.
Cancer is one of the leading causes of morbidity and mortality. I remember the Department of Education approximately 14 million new cases festival here for kids in intermediate school there. And I remember and I think of evidence that you can have compensation. We are also committed to continuously build capacity in terms of we want to recapture training and acquisition of enhanced diagnostic equipment.
Asante sana, thank you so much. Wapi makofi ya hapo? Ndio tumefika. Tunashukuru Mungu, we have a new place. Ni pazuri sana. I want to call upon CEC Tourism, Miss Achelai. Karibu sana. Then after that, we'll have Siso Lawyer to give us our new anthem.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Governor of Kisumu County, Professor Nyong'o, the 2 deputy directors, deputy governors in the room, our deputy governor from NYERI, deputy governor Kisumu, my colleagues from the county government, Waziri of Roads, Senator Rose, and our speaker. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is an example for us who were not here in the olden times to experience what this cultural, what this social center epitomized. Governor, we've been here for most of the morning into this evening, and for sure, you can get lost in it. You can get lost in the theater, in the music, in the dance, in the intellectual content as well, of which we've celebrated today. In the morning, we had Mama Joel Mbogo. She was no nonsense. She was having none of it as she spoke to women as we were on the panel or in the room and told us there is no excuse. You get up there and you fight and you hold your space. They charted the path for us, so we know what it's about. That session in the morning was about the journey of our pioneer women leaders. This afternoon, the session was about weathering the storm. And the panel, beautifully moderated as well, was expressing the challenges that women go through in today's leadership, whether it's political, corporate, whether it's NGOs, etc., whether it's academia, etc. We had the speaker, the sole male panelist this afternoon, and he was challenged to share with us what is the Assembly doing to empower and embody women. At the end of the day, what did I learn? And I know that is what we all learned. Norms seem to be stronger than laws. Our cultural backgrounds and our cultural ethics, standards are dictating how we are navigating this gender issue. One of the panelists yesterday was talking, Professor Pala was here. We're talking about standing in the way, we as women are being considered as standing in the way of women development. No, we are not. We are standing firm in our space. We're weathering the storm. But we are asking the opposite gender, the men, can you walk this with us? I never have a conversation with a male, irrespective of job, irrespective of economic background. I never have a conversation with a man, we're weathering the storm, who tells me that he doesn't want his daughter to be a leader, that he doesn't want his daughter to stand economically empowered. I don't know those men. When I talk to anybody, a hawker on the street, a leader in government, they tell me they want their daughters to be strong women. So to be strong women, we are asking you men to allow us to hold that space. None of you are raising girls to be weak, to be dependent on men. None of you say it when you're asked. But when you are in a position of leadership, when you're running government or a corporation, then you waver when you come across a woman who's a little tough, a little forceful. You start to play this sexual game with us. Innuendos, which we don't appreciate, but we can handle it. You heard it yesterday, you heard it today. That sexual stuff doesn't work for us anymore. You've suggested that we're not academically capable. We've shown you that we are because you've taken us to school. What we're asking fathers, our brothers, our bosses who are male, our peers, is respect me as a female, because that is how I also will respect you in the home. Allow me to be your partner, to navigate life with you. I heard here that the Luo tradition, a man is not a man until he has a woman. Allow us to walk with you. This is no competition. We want young guys. There are many young guys here who are running the social media space for this event. They don't want wives who are weak. They don't want wives who cannot stand economically strong. Let us walk together. Allow that bill to be passed where women have our 2/3 rule. We'll fight for it. We heard Senator NYAMUNGA Rose talk about it, saying that women are not fighting in parliament. Neither are we fighting in cabinet. It's just life. Allow us to hold this space with you. If this is what the social hall allowed to happen in years gone by, I will be a very active member here. I know there was a fantastic gentleman who said he came here from the audience, he came here with his 2 daughters, so that his daughters could hear women talk strong. I was very proud of him. There was Professor Chege in the morning saying he's embarrassed by what men are doing, that in the 21st century we're not sure about women, and we're not sure about where we want women to stand. We have enjoyed the 2 days that we have had. We've debated, we've sang, we've danced, we've celebrated the child, the girl child, we've celebrated the male a cappella group. And I know this will continue to be what the governor had envisaged, what he experienced as a young boy. I want to stop there, but I do want to say to the gentlemen in this room particularly, the reason this social hall is going to be named after a woman is because our governor is not intimidated by women. Otherwise, this would be called after a man. People like me have stood in the job that I took to be a CEC in his administration, because I have aspirations that he has allowed people like me to take. He has said when I was campaigning with him, why are you not coming to government? And I was doing the, oh, you know, I don't know, that thing that women do now when the opposition is there, the opportunity is there. And he said to me, and I'll never forget it, I quote it all the time, if not you, then who? And he also told me that if I stand in this job, I've come from London and I'm now working in Kisumu as a CEC, and I am weathering storms right now, but I'm standing strong. I'm weathering those storms. You're reading it on social media. I'm going nowhere. I'm owning this space. I fought this race, and I am going to work unless my boss sends me out. So, when Professor Nyong'o can name it after a woman, it's because he's self-assured. The women in his cabinet, there are 3. We are formidable. There are 3 ladies. We don't joke in cabinet. And the governor does not expect us to be in any way mediocre. And when we go there all girly and what, he's having none of it. He's having none of it. So Governor, on behalf of the women of Kisumu, on behalf of the women of Kenya, thank you so very much for naming this social hall after a woman of power and excellence. Thank you. Now, I don't want to end on a too serious note. There's music and dance within 20 minutes, I am told, by the MC. This will go on for the next 3 or so hours. We invite you to stay on, enjoy and celebrate and take this space. Tomorrow is the official opening by the CS of Culture, Ambassador Amina Mohammed. We expect you all to be seated by 8. And then we continue to celebrate this beautiful space. And again, the person opening this particular space is a woman. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Waziri. At this point in time, there's a presentation by Elder Osewe. Then we'll have Pastor Monica Okinda to give us a closing prayer. Then after that, we are going to the live band now. We are going to dance. Tom Kodio, Jimmy Likembe, Jack Nyadundo, Ligrand, King of Ohangla himself. We are here, mpaka kesho. Twende kazi. Check 1, 2, thank you so much. Asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I want to call upon Pastor Monica Okinda to give us a closing prayer. Then we'll have the national anthem. Alafu baada ya national anthem, ni live band. Jack Nyadundo standby, Tony is not around. Jimmy Likembe, Tom Kodio, Muziki Santima. Pastor, karibu.
Bwana asifiwe. I want to thank God for the prayer answered. If I see what God is doing in Kisumu, we thank God for his faithfulness. Tusimame na tuombe. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we want to thank you and to bless you for this far you brought us, your Ebenezer. Thank you for this second day of the grand launching of Kisumu Social Center. We thank you, Lord, for the events that are taking place in this place. Thank you for our leaders, the politicians, Lord, the women in the panel. We thank you for our men, our youths. Thank you, Lord, for all people who have participated. We glorify your name even as we are going for tomorrow. We are praying that, God, you will replenish our strength. You will help us, oh God, even as we come back tomorrow. Thank you, Father, for what you have purposed to do in this city of Kisumu. And we thank you that Kisumu is positioning itself to its rightful place of Kisumu. We magnify your name and we glorify you. Thank you for the organizers of this event, that Lord God Almighty, you continue to bless them and to lift them. Thank you for the Kisumu County and even for the leaders here in Kisumu for even entrusting women with a task that is here today. We magnify you, Lord, as we go back home. May you bless each one of us. May the angels of the Lord encamp round about each one of us. As the events continue, Lord, may your name be glorified. In Jesus' name we pray.
Thank you so much. National Anthem, stanza 1. Thank you so much. Asanteni sana. Jack Nyadundo, wherever you are, stand by. Tomorrow is the D-Day. Thank you so much for your patience. Tuko hapa mpaka asubuhi. Live band hapo nje. Tom Kodio, Jimmy Likembe. Shabuka Msasa.
Vicky Kupiri.
Let me welcome you to